Here we're going to look at profit. What really is profit? It applies to services as well, but for this example, I'm going to use products, just assuming a very simple product. It could be any product. There's a lot of different aspects that you will have to understand in how exactly profit works. But trying to keep this simple, the idea is that it's assuming we use a Pareto rule of 80-20 on sales. Also, to make things simpler, we are saying that you're making a 20% margin. If you're making a 10% margin or a 30% margin, these examples might have to be changed a bit. So we have this 80-20 rule, so we'll use that. And the point of this is if you bring costing into this picture, amortization, minimum order quantities, inventory holding, fixed cost, direct costs, uh, it becomes obvious. It gets complicated, but you lose focus of the eventual point of profit. So let's look at this example, the visual on top, and say that the focus of many top level executives sometimes falls into a bell curve in terms of the way they look at the 80-20 rule, salespeople, return on investment, investing in the top five people, top 5% of your sales force. All that is good, but let's look and get into a little bit more detail of how this works. So in this example, if you have a 200-person sales force that produces 200 lakhs in sales, if you apply the 80-20 rule, then the top 20% is producing 160 lakhs of the sales. And the bottom 20% only gets you 6 lakhs in sales. So this is one way we use the bell curve in terms of which salespeople are bringing in the money or the revenue, and and you decide on the good salespeople versus the bad salespeople based on one such rule. Now, if we reassign or replace the bottom 20% with candidates that just exceed competency levels for this, then the sales can increase by a substantial amount. This, in some sense, starts getting into the area of marginal costing and marginal improvement in your systems. So if you start looking marginal improvement, so this can start if you dice it and slice and dice your sales figures, then you'll be able to see where the margins are improving based on your salespeople, on product portfolios, and other aspects of your product mix or assortment. But the point that I want to get across here is that in marginal profit, when you look at marginal profit, let's take an example of, just to add a bit of fun into this, let's assume laddus are being made at 8 rupees each and you're selling them at 10. So now when you're, that's following the 80-20 rule, but for just to help you understand. So the cost of the laddu is 8 rupees and you're selling it at 10 rupees. But obviously you can't make one laddu at a time. So let's assume that we are making a minimum order quantity of 1,000. We are assuming 1,000 laddus have to be made at any given time. So which means if you're making 1,000 laddus, the cost for you is 8,000 rupees, just based on that simple thing that we have here, that it costs you 8 rupees. But how did you arrive at that 8 rupees, or 8 into 1,000 is 8,000 rupees for making the laddus? The cost is 8 into 1,000, 8,000 rupees to make the laddus. But that has a lot of other costs. All the materials that you bought, just for the 8,000, you shouldn't buy for 600 at a time or 200 at a time. You have to buy, nor can you buy for 1,600. Then the costing changes. You bought exactly the materials required to make these 800 laddus. I'm sorry, 1,000 laddus, because it's at 8 rupees, you're making 1,000 laddus. Now, what happens? So you spend the 8,000 rupees. Now, the cost includes not only the materials, but the fixed costs and variable costs, salaries, the chef, electricity. Materials are all taken as direct cost. That means the oil, the ingredients, and everything. But the staff cost might not be included. It has been included, but you have to think about that. So the material cost out of the 8,000 might have been only 2,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees, whatever you want to assume there. So let's assume we have assumed 3,000 rupees for the materials. How did we arrive at the balance 5,000? It's the chefs, the overheads, um, the electricity, the rent for the place, wherever rent or ownership of the land or wherever it is being done. Other fixed costs you will have to get, any other variable costs, fixed costs, indirect costs. So we are assuming a fairly complex set of costing factors to arrive at that 8 rupees. But let's keep it that way. So at 8 rupees, if you've got you made these laddus. Now you have to sell them. Now, with the first 800 laddus, you'll get your money back. So you'll get your 8,000 rupees back. Okay. So once you get your laddus back at 8,000 rupees, at the 801st laddu starts giving you the profit. So this is the aspect of marginal costing. So if you've given away 100 laddus from this as freebies, or it's been stolen, or it's been disposed of for whatever reason it's damaged. So every single laddu is going to affect your marginal profit. So the last, the 100th, the 1000th laddu is the one that gives you the eventual profit of 20%. Anything less than that is less than 20%. Your profit margin is no longer 20%. And that's the aspect that I want to get across to you in getting the profit, the real profit of any product line. So now, if you do project costing rather than process costing, if you're regularly making laddus every day, morning, evening, then the costing gets affected. But if you look at it as a project, this is a single task, a single project, it's a single order, make to order rather than make to stock, then you get into approaching costing in a far better way. And it really eventually comes down to marginal profit. So keep this in mind when you build your spreadsheets or how you go about your costing. And if you have a variety of products, assortment of products, and there's a product portfolio, then you may need a more complex ERP software platform such as we have in Klextra. Please do talk to us and we can help you achieve improved costing using this marginal profit method.